Okay, in this video, I'm going to show you guys how to eliminate the batteries that save your high score on any arcade machine. Any arcade machine that normally takes batteries, you can eliminate the batteries with one of these, a resistor, and a small diode. Now, why would you want to remove the batteries that save the high score on your game? I'll tell you why. Because when batteries age, they leak. And leaking batteries, it will corrode your circuit board. And you don't want that, especially if you're not familiar with how to fix circuit boards. You definitely don't want to ruin them, okay? Because odds are, if your machine's working, you might forget about that. You probably forgot which machines in your arcade have batteries right now in them. Okay, let me show you what you can do. First, I'm going to explain what exactly we're going to do on paper. Okay? Now, normally, you're going to have a terminal here, and one's positive and one's negative, and those are going to go to a battery. And that battery is going to save your high scores. Okay? And when this battery fails, unless you change them while the machine's running, you're going to lose your high scores when you replace those batteries. Okay. Now, this can damage your board. This will never damage your board. Now, this is a supercapacitor. Now, yes, it's actually called supercapacitor, and I'm pretty sure I'm almost certain these are electrostatic, not electrolytic. So, in other words, there's no juice inside here to leak. Correct me if I'm wrong. Anyways. So what we're going to do is, this is how it was originally. And what we're going to do is, we're going to have the same terminals here and here, positive and negative. Okay? Now, when the machine is on and running, you're going to have a rail somewhere that has positive and a rail somewhere that has negative. But that negative is always connected to here anyway, so you're going to ignore that. Okay. Now, what you want to do is, you want to have a diode come off of this rail, and a resistor after that, and that's going to charge a capacitor, which will be connected to your negative and connected to your positive. Okay, so what's going to happen is, when your machine is turned on, 5 volts will flow through this diode and through this resistor, which will slow the current. It will limit your flow of current and charge this capacitor. Now, when you shut the machine off, it cannot go back through this diode, so it blocks it and holds some voltage in this capacitor just the same way. Okay, this is your charging circuit. When the machine's off, that's eliminated, and you basically have a capacitor holding your high scores instead of a battery holding your high scores. Now, there is one downside on this, which isn't too big of a deal. If you turn on your arcade within every 6 months or so, then I wouldn't worry about it. But this little guy, it might last, well, at the low end, let's say 3 months, and at the high end, let's say 6 months is all this is going to last. But as soon as you turn your machine on, it's instantly charged again. Now, a battery might last a few years, but I don't really see that as a problem. But okay, let's do this. Now, you can do this with any, and I mean any, game that saves high scores. Now, some games have CR2032. Now, it's a battery that looks like a nickel. Now, you can actually do this modification on a lot of Williams boards, but the batteries, for example, on a Williams game, the CR2032 mod that people are doing doesn't last very long, and it doesn't self-charge, and you will have to buy batteries again in the future. And other games that take 3 AA's equal 4.5 volts. Now, 4.5 volts normally goes to here to hold your high scores. Well, normally you're going to have 5 volts coming across this rail. It's going to go through this diode, which is going to drop it about a half a volt. And so in other words, you're going to charge this to 4.5 volts right off the bat. Just what you need. But okay, you can do this with just about any board that you can save high scores with a battery. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to pause the camera and get a lot better lighting. That's a little better. You know, I'm going to get, this is my Joust 2 board, by the way. Williams boards especially are kind of a pain in the ass because when you turn them on, when the batteries are dead, you have to go through factory reset and whatever, and it's kind of irritating. But okay, this is what I'm going to do. I have, oh, by the way, you can use any resistor between, let's say, this, I just pulled this off a monitor board. This is 470 ohms. You can use pretty much any resistor between, let's say, 100 ohms to 1,000 ohms, okay? What I'm going to do is, I'm going to cut this short. I'm going to set that right there for now. And I'm going to find my solder. Okay, and I'm going to solder this diode to this resistor. Yeah, it's going to roll away too. Let me tin this. Let me tin this. Then I'll stick them together. How about that? Okay. So now I'm going to get my supercapacitor, and it's marked. I don't know if you can see that or not. There's a +5. There's a plus mark and there's a negative mark. So I'm going to connect this right there. Okay. There we go. Now, what I just did was, here's my capacitor, and this little guy is my resistor, and this right here is my diode. You see that? Okay. So, let's do a little research, and let's find out how the original circuit went. Okay, so I'm going to get my meter. I'm going to set it on continuity. Now I see a negative terminal right here, and that's going right straight to ground. So odds are that's a ground. Okay, so that's going to be my ground. Let's find out. It looks like it's right here. There's my positive. Okay, so I know that I need to make this capacitor go to ground. See this line here? See the negative mark right here? I need to make that go to ground, and I need to make this go to positive. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bend this over a little bit. I'm going to do something like that. And I'm just going to find a ground. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to scratch a little spot off of here. Now I'm going to tin it. Like that. And now I have my ground, the super cap, connected to the ground of here. Move that right about there. And the positive end is going to have to connect to where the batteries used to connect right here. So I'm going to, I wish I could get closer. See how close I can get. That's a little better. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to disconnect this guy right here. And I'm going to solder that right to where the battery went. Positive terminal of that battery. Just like that. And so, now we have the capacitor connected to electrically, this capacitor is now connected exactly the same way that battery used to be. But we have to connect the charging circuit right here. So, let me zoom out a little bit. So, I know, now I gotta find somewhere where there's positive on this board. Now, right off the bat, I see some decoupling capacitors right here, and I see that the top of these chips, this is usually 5 volts, and they're connected. Yeah, this has got to be it. So I could go with, yeah, this. You know what? That's where I'm going to go. We're going to connect that sucker right. Although I don't like how close that is to some of these other parts. You know what? That's what we're going to do. I'm going to connect it right to 5 volts right here. Okay. Get my solder out. Now you'll see these decoupling capacitors all over any board. And that's a good way to find out where 5 volts is if you don't know any better. And you can't just connect it to any side because the other side is going to be ground. So one thing you could do is you could get your meter. Odds are this is going to be ground. Then you could find a decoupling capacitor and you know that's connected to ground and this is not. So the other side will be positive. But do your research, just make sure you're connecting it to positive 5 and not anywhere else. But okay, so there it is. Now as soon as I plug this in, we're going to charge up this capacitor, and then when a machine is off, that circuit will be no longer in use, and that will charge and hold our high scores. If you guys have any questions on anything like this, or any arcade thing in general, leave a comment. And if you like what you see, subscribe. One more thing I should tell you guys is the capacitor you use should be. See if I can get a reading on there. You see how that says 5 volts? Not all capacitors are created equal. You need to get a capacitor that says at least 5 volts. But okay, guys.